Hello YouTube, my name is Paul. I hope you're all keeping well. I'm back today then with part 6 of my collection videos, and today is my favourite of them all. My favourite machine of all time, in fact, and that is the Commodore Amiga. A system I first got introduced to, I suppose, when I used to go shopping in Marble Arch, Virgin Megastore, because they always had an Amiga 500 setup playing the latest games, because that was the best machine games came out on. So obviously they're going to advertise them using the best machines. But I always remember it because the music used to sound fantastic. The games often looked like the ST but sounded completely different. For example, Chase HQ I remember really well. I remember the soundtrack thumping out and it was just like the arcade. Didn't look like the arcade though, did it? But it sounded like the arcade. So yeah, I always wanted one, but I couldn't really afford it. I mean, I worked the whole summer for my ST. If I'd have saved up an extra £100, I'd have had an Amiga. But all the reviews kind of indicated that the games were very similar. But typically, for me, I bought the machine as the Amiga started going into a league of its own, and game developers started producing better quality games over the ST counterpart. A good friend of mine had an Amiga, kind of in the early 90s, I think it was, about 91, 92, and he was selling it on behalf of his brother-in-law, so I thought, do you know what, I'll buy that off him. He said to me, don't buy it though, mate, because there's a few issues with it, but my impatience, yet again, got the better of me, so I bought it. And then when I got it home, I shouldn't have been disappointed because I just made the biggest mistake ever. I bought a bloody non-working machine. So I got it in, put the games in that came with it. I think he had Monkey Island, which was amazing, but I could only play it for like 5 minutes before the graphics were all corrupt. I think F-19 Stealth Fighters, it's just those two games. But again, I think local Toys R Us to us, I think somewhere in Croydon it was, or Purley Way, used to go down there and pick up re-release titles that used to be out on the Amiga and the ST. So I picked up Lotus, I think I picked up Batman the Movie and a few others at the time, but obviously I couldn't bloody play them because the machines cocked up. So eventually, sometime in the middle of 1992, I bought my Amiga 600, which was brand new and no messing about this time. Everything seemed to work fine. So I remember getting Lemmings with that, and I played that for flipping hours. And then a year later I bought an Amiga 1200, which was absolutely amazing. But again, they didn't really use the full potential of that machine, did they? Because most of the games were literally the same as the 500 versions with more colour. But apart from that, it had amazing potential. It's the first games machine I ever expanded. So I bought the monitor, I bought a hard drive, and I bought an accelerator board. Which, again, if I think about it now, I would have spent an absolute fortune on that stuff. And I could have just bought a blinking PC, but I didn't. So yeah, my history with the Amiga goes back a long time, and I've collected for it on and off now since pretty much 1992. Like I said, I bought back a load of old games I used to have on the ST. I sold my Amiga in 1997 to my brother. That's the year I actually got a PC. But I kept all the games, kept the games for it, and then started recollecting about 2 or 3 years later because I absolutely loved the machine. There were some fantastic games on it. So yeah, so I've been collecting on it for a while. I sold a large collection back about 5 years ago. I had over 600 games on it, and I sold a lot. And I rebought stuff since, but I've kind of got a lot of games on the Amiga, and I've got a fair chunk of them on the Amiga CD32 as well. So between the two machines, it's almost back to what I used to have, to be honest. But the collections are more focused this time. So, for example, I want a full set Psygnosis collection, I want a full set Ocean Software collection. I've got all the ST games I used to have. I've got all the Amiga games I used to have, and there's games in there which I've always wanted, which I've now picked up. But no, I don't have Moonstone, and I've never played Moonstone, to be honest, but it's one of those games that seems to fetch a lot of money. But like I said, I've never played it, I've got no nostalgia for it, but it's highly recommended that I give it a go. So who knows, one day I might do just that. But that's a quick summary of where I am with the Amiga. I'm going to go through my Amiga 500. Like I said, these videos, this collection video is going to span maybe 3 or 4 videos. But I'll do the 500 today, I'll do the 1200 next time I do a video, and then keep going through the games, and eventually I'll do my CD32 and my CD-TV, which, yeah, again, completely different collections as opposed to the floppy disk based stuff. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next bit. So there she is, a thing of beauty. The Amiga 500. Unfortunately, like I said, I never owned an Amiga 500 from brand new. The one I got was second hand, which I gave to a friend about 6 months after I bought it, and I got my Amiga 600. Again, similar looking to the ST. I think the ST, I said the ST looked more slicker, but this one's certainly the better looking machine. It's certainly got a lot more character about it. I don't have the modulator in the back at the moment because it's hooked up to a 1084S monitor, which is what I use for my CD TV. I recently got this about 6 months ago actually, and they cost a bloody bomb these days, don't they, those black monitors. So yeah, in terms of like similarities to the ST, apart from the same processor and looking similar, that's about it. I mean, you've got vastly more superior sound chip on here, haven't you? You've got your 4-channel 9 octaves and all that stuff. In good old stereo sound, you've got your 4096 colours, 32 displayed on screen. That was always a selling point for the Amiga, wasn't it, over the ST. The Blitter chip, I mean, hardware, sprite scrolling, etc. So, no wonder the ST didn't have a hope in hell, to be honest. But the Amiga didn't really get its full potential used until sort of the very late 80s, really, and into sort of 1990. Shadow of the Beast was probably the first game to identify or to show us that the Amiga was truly the more powerful machine. But yeah, that's my Amiga 500. I've got one more which I use for testing, which I think you see that in my last video. But this one just lives in its box upstairs. Not much else to tell you really about the 500. Like I said, I've got a 1200, and I've tried to get it as close as I could to my original sort of specs. I've got myself an accelerator board in there and a CF card as opposed to a hard drive. And I've got my CD32 and I've got my CD TV, but I don't unfortunately have a 600 anymore, which is a cute little machine. But yeah, I would love to have had an Amiga 4000. Absolutely fantastic piece of kit that is, but the prices are just astronomical at the moment. They almost go for as much as they were brand new. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, the 030, the 040, obviously the Amiga 1000 I've never seen actually in the flesh. I've never seen a 2000 in the flesh. There's so many different variations of Amigas, but this is by far the most common as far as I'm aware. So that's it for my Amiga 500. See you in the next part. Okay, then on to the games. So I'm after a full set of Psygnosis games on the Amiga. I'm about 6 short, I think. And the reason I've gone for them is because they are renowned for their sort of quality, aren't they? Their artwork, their packaging, graphics, sound, music, absolutely phenomenal stuff. Not always the case with the gameplay, but in terms of everything else, it's top notch. So yeah, I want to get every single game on the system. I mean, they first released the game, I think, in 1986. Right up until sort of like the mid-90s. So yeah, I'll run you through them in no particular order, not chronological or anything like that. It literally is what I reach across and grab. I've got one game here which I bought in 1992. It's the only game I have left on my Amiga, which is Agony. So this is my original copy of Agony. I managed to get the discs to work again because they almost packed up on me. The thing with floppy disks, they get blinking mouldy, don't they, really quick. So I bought this game from W.H. Smith's sometime in 1992, and I still have it, which is great. Next up on these big square boxes is air support. You can see a bit of an isometric view there in the graphics. Not really spent a lot of time with it, and I suppose it's one of the reasons doing all these videos is to kind of not only log what I got, but I want to get around to playing these games, and as I do them, I'll develop my sort of top fives. Dungeon Master, this was a re-release from the FTL Dungeon Master with the Chaos Strikes Back included. Quite a recent-ish pickup was Red Zone. Again, a motorcycle racing game. Not bad at all, actually. Aqua Ventura, recently just swapped this box out with a nicer one. But yeah, lovely, isn't it? These boxes are absolutely fantastic. One of the better games from Psygnosis is Leander. I think it was released as Galahad on the Mega Drive. Some of these Psygnosis games actually did reach the Mega Drive, didn't they? A compilation, Monster Pack Volume 2. Took me a while to get this one. I got it for a reasonable price because you know what it's like on eBay. Some people try and charge an arm and a leg for these Psygnosis games. And this is another copy of Agony I've got, which is a fully working copy. Well, up until this point anyway. So no different to the first one, but I've just got a backup one because my one didn't work very well. Next one is one of the sort of later design boxes. Is Perillion. That's how you pronounce it. Got an amazing introduction sequence in this, which features in my top 5 video for Psygnosis introduction sequences. Globule, which was released on the Mega Drive from what I remember. Armageddon 2, codename Hellfire. One of my favourites that I used to have on the Amiga back in the day was Walker. I can never get past level 2 on this. I'm not sure if it's because my difficulty level's set wrong or what, but you cannot beat the level 2 baddie no matter how hard you try. This is a sore subject. I had this game years ago, Shadow of the Beast 3. This was got through a Kickstarter project. Is it Amiga Years or something? Probably the worst investment I ever made, to be honest with you. I spent an absolute fortune on that pack and got back a load of crap, to be honest. I'm quite disappointed with it. Signed by the developer. But yeah, I ain't going to go into that too much detail. The original Armageddon. And Prime Mover. Sort of the second bike racing game from Psygnosis. The classic hired guns. I had this back in the day as well. Couldn't make head nor tail of it, to be honest. The game needs to spend a bit of time mastering to get the most out of it. A game by DMA Design as well. I did like my flight sims back in the day, so Combat Air Patrol. Very slick looking game. Not a bad intro either. And for some of those long boxes, they all contain t-shirts, these, except for one of the compilations. So, Shadow of the Beast. Unfortunately, I don't have any t-shirts in them, which is a shame. This is a milestone game, this one. It did demonstrate how much the Amiga 500 could do, didn't it? If you ever played the ST version and compared the two, the ST one is grim. I beat it on the Mega Drive, believe it or not, because I didn't have this game for such a long... I didn't have any other games on the Mega Drive for such a long time, but I actually did play Shadow of the Beast and complete it, which was no mean feat. Awesome. Awesome soundtrack. I did used to have this with a t-shirt in it. Another compilation, which is the Monster Pack Volume 1. Got some cracking titles in there. Again, quite a difficult one to get. There's an Obitus, that's how you pronounce that. It was made by an Italian developer. Sort of like an RPG-esque kind of game. And a recent addition to upgrade what I already had, and that is Shadow of the Beast 2. Got to be one of the hardest games I've ever played, to be honest. So that's the long boxes. Next up we got is Second Samurai. I think Vivid Image published the original one of this, original game, sorry. Another mediocre game, Cliffhanger, based on the Stallone film. Pugsley, this also came out on the Mega Drive. Never really got into it, to be honest. Theatre of Death. Another Mega Drive game that came out on that system was Wiz and Liz. Not a bad game, actually. Good fun platforming romp. All New World of Lemmings. I got a feeling this was Psygnosis' last release on the Amiga. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is the last one. Crimbo Lemmings. in the gold box. Not going to show them about there. And then Christmas Lemmings 94. This one's quite difficult to get hold of. Again, nothing on the back of the box there. Got to kind of bide your time for that one. Not long had this one either. Last Action Hero. Was rated a measly 8%, I think, in Amiga Power. I don't think it's 8%, I think it's better than that, but it's not a great game, but 8%, that's a bit drastic. This game gave me migraines. How peculiar, the only game ever to give me a bloody migraine. If you ever played this game, Innocent Until Caught, it's a point and click adventure, but the mouse cursor is so jerky, it does your bloody eyes in. And I really wanted to play that game as well, I just couldn't play it. Megamix. Again, a really nice compilation. There are some really good games on that, actually. Yeah, one of the free compilations to come out by Psygnosis. The Carl Lewis Challenge. He was some athlete, wasn't he? I think it's the second track and field game released by Psygnosis, believe it or not. Should like the camera there. Bill's Tomato game, bit of a puzzler. Again, never really got into that, to be honest. I remember having a copy of this though, with a sachet of tomato sauce in it. Bet it's bloody vile. Lemmings to the Tribes. Really good introduction sequence in that. No screenshots on the back there. I prefer the original Lemmings, to be honest. Right, some of the slim boxes now. Now this one is the first release by Psygnosis. This is Braticus, or Braticus, however you want to pronounce it. Now this was Bandersnatch, wasn't it? The finished product of Bandersnatch, which was the game that brought Imagine Software down, amongst all the boozing and drinking and women and whatever else it flipping did at Imagine Software. And the name Psyclapse, which I got a few games from them, was their second mega game, or Imagine Software's second mega game. So yeah, Imagine Software were renowned for their slickness and their marketing prowess, and they kind of brought it across to Psygnosis, really. Pteropods. One of these slim case games, my favourite style of box actually, I love these. Same sort of thing really, Obliterator, lovely artwork there. The old Roger Dean artwork is pretty awesome, isn't it? But it's early stuff, they really made an effort with it in terms of the packaging and artwork. The games themselves are pretty grim. Not a bad game. Nitro. Atomino? Never really played this one, to be honest. Doesn't look very good. It's the second copy of Armageddon I've got. A lot of these games came out in the big boxes, or the bigger boxes, and a lot of them came out as well in these thin ones. Like Shadow of the Beast 2 came out in a box like that as well, along with Awesome. Chrono Quest 2. Never played that one, to be honest. One of the more memorable Psygnosis games there, the Killing Game Show. Love that eye. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, really good game actually. Quite a difficult one to get. It's Orc. You tend to find this one comes up a lot in Germany for some reason. So Amnios. One thing that was certain with the old Psygnosis games, wasn't it? They'd always have amazing graphics, and in most cases had some amazing soundtracks as well. Carthage. Not quite sure what that's all about. The first Psygnosis game I ever played, my mate had this on his Atari ST, was Blood Money. A brutally hard shooter. I remember getting off the first two worlds. But yeah, amazing. The sequel to Menace. Oh no, more Lemmings. Just an add-on disc to the original Lemmings. There is a double pack I'm after, which I don't have. And the original Lemmings. Probably one of the best Psygnosis games of them all, in my opinion. Got Barbarian 2. It's got to be better than Barbarian 1. That was a bit grim. Strange how the early games from Psygnosis also used mouse control, which was actually quite awkward. Britarchus was like that. Barbarian, Obliterator. I've talked to Barbarian, here we are. The original Barbarian. Recently got this game, actually got it today on a different system, but Infestation. And the third release from Psygnosis then is Deep Space. This took a while for me to get, actually. You can go for a lot of money and you can get a bargain every now and then, so a bit of patience. It's not uber rare or nothing, but just take your time on it and you'll get it for a decent price. Just going to pick up your Psyclapse games. I'll be back in a sec. As promised, back in a sec. Anarchy. Good game, this one. Fantastic soundtrack. I rated that as #1 in my top 5 Psygnosis soundtracks. Ballistics. Again, all these Psyclapse games had some fantastic soundtracks, to be honest. Not quite sure why companies at the time did that. They did like have a secondary label. I think these Psyclapse games may have been slightly cheaper to buy, but it was almost pointless, wasn't it? Now, Psyclapse was supposed to be Imagine Software's second mega game. Never mind. Sorry about the glare there. See one of those protective sleeves. I've never actually ever taken it out of it. In fact, I never played it. Spellbound. Is it Bar? Not a bad shoot 'em up. Matrix Marauders. And then Strix. I've got 3 other compilations upstairs, which are Triad compilations, which some of them are classified as a Psygnosis release, and I think 2 of them aren't. One of them is. So one's kind of volume 1, which is, I can't remember what colours there. One's orange, one's green, and one I think is blue, or light blue, or something like that, sky blue. So there's those 3 as well, which I haven't brought down. I've got Arena on disc only. It's one of the games I'm after to get, but it's bloody expensive and bloody hard to get. There's buy it now ones up on eBay, which go for like 400 quid, which is a bit too expensive, to be honest. It's probably worth more, about like 50 to 100 maybe, but it doesn't come up very often. Thank you for that, and I will see you for the final part of the Psygnosis part of the collection. See you in a bit.
First, there was Menace.
Cheeky sod buttoning like that, how dare you? Yeah, so Psygnosis games left to get. Definitely Menace. That's quite a difficult one to get hold of, comes up every now and then, but can go between sort of 20 and 40 quid. I'm after a fully boxed copy of Arena. Already discussed that one. Can go for a fortune. Well, go for a fortune. It's listed for a fortune. I don't think it's worth nowhere near that. I'm after a couple of modern or more recent releases, like Exit is one of them. Bob's Bad Day is the other one. I'm after the double pack of Lemmings, which has got Oh No More Lemmings and Lemmings in it. Dracula, is it Bram Stoker's Dracula? I'm after that. I think that's it. I can't think of any others really. Like I said, there's a few CD32 titles missing, which I'll show you that in my CD32 collection. There's 2 or 3, I think it's 2 actually, 2 CD32 specific Psygnosis games. But besides that, yeah, I'm kind of almost there. I'm pleased to have got some of the other ones out of the way, like Britarchus and Last Action Hero and Lemmings, because they're quite difficult to get. And trying to get them in a decent condition as well, because the later releases, their boxes are quite flimsy. But yeah, that's it. That's it for my Psygnosis collection. Like I said, I'll be back next time with another part of my Amiga collection. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing, and I'll see you all very soon indeed. Take care.